The Liberal Revolutions of 1848. The revolutions of 1848 were a series of uprisings that took place across Europe in response to social and economic pressures brought on by the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution. Conservative monarchs throughout Europe were threatened as middle and working class people attempted to establish new governments that allowed the common man a voice in government function. As before, the main impulse started in France, where liberal revolt caused the flight of King Louis-Philippe and led to the creation of the French Second Republic in February 1848. News of the events in France sparked unrest and liberal demands in Vienna and Berlin. In March 1848, liberal demonstrations, flyers and petitions demanded freedom of press, civil rights, a German nation-state and a constitution. This is what the slogan Unity and Liberty stands for. In Vienna, Foreign Minister and advisor to the King, Prince Clemens von Metternich, abdicated and fled after the military had failed to break up student demonstrations. The Austrian government soon published a new constitution. However, riots continued. In Berlin, Prussian King Frederick William promised the people a new constitution. But when the people gathered in front of the palace to thank him, the palace guards started shooting, and the resulting violence killed hundreds and led to more riots. Afterwards, William tried to convince the public that he was willing to reform his government. These surprising successes in two of the great powers, Prussia and Austria, caused most German monarchs to give in. They promised constitutions, agreed with the demand for a nation-state, and appointed new liberal ministers to show their goodwill. The official assembly of the German Confederation in Frankfurt annulled the Karlsbad decrees and declared black, red, gold the German colors in anticipation of German unity. Let's not forget that the idea of nationalism had also reached other areas. There were also uprisings in Italy, Hungary, and Prague, demanding their own nation-states. This threatened the cohesion of the multi-ethnic Austria-Hungarian Empire. Let's go back to the German Confederation, where a constituent National Assembly was elected and gathered in Frankfurt in May 1848. It was composed of democratically elected deputies from various German states. A majority were liberals. The goals of the assembly included creating a unified Germany that was liberal and constitutionally governed, but it soon transpired that the assembly was weak for various reasons. A first problem was the constitution. The assembly began writing a constitution but was unable to agree and dissolved into endless debates. Secondly, the Frankfurt assembly argued over who should rule a unified Germany, the Prussian king or the young Austrian emperor. In the meantime, they appointed a provisional government. But a third problem was that this provisional government had no right to make decisions without the approval of the 39 member states. It stayed without real power. A related fourth problem was how much power the member states should have, and what the central government and parliament should be able to decide. This is the question of sovereignty. The fifth question concerned the territorial borders for a new unified Germany. Should Austrian and Prussian non-German speaking territories be included or not? What about the territories that weren't part of the German Confederation? What would that mean for those two states? The only matter they could easily agree on were human rights issues. For Prussia, Frederick William eventually dictated a constitution from above, preserving him an absolute veto to block decisions of the new Prussian assembly. In the meantime, the counter-revolution was successful in Austria. With military force, the Czech, Hungarian, and Italian uprisings were suppressed. Many revolutionaries were executed. The revolution in Austria-Hungary had failed. In Prussia, King Frederick William rejected the crown of a unified Germany offered to him by the Frankfurt Assembly. As the revolution in the German Confederation was losing its steam, this was another heavy blow. Finally, in Prussia as well as in Austria, the constituent assemblies were dissolved and the monarchs regained control. The revolutions and their liberal ideas of 1848 had failed, and liberals were highly disappointed. They had achieved none of their goals. There was neither a unified Germany nor liberal rights, and the nobility was still in power. But a constitution had been written down. This was a model for a later attempt. The demand for national unification could no longer be ignored. Prussia and Austria now also had constitutions, and the feudal rights, along with serfdom, were abolished. The revolutionary ideas remained in the people's heads, and there were some limited civil liberties introduced. This was a brief overview of the liberal revolutions of 1848 with a focus on the German states.